Okay, and here is the Thalia-UL control board options. Each kit will either come with our standard 10 by 12 inch enclosure. It's fiberglass with hinges, or you have the option of the Thalia-UL large enclosure box, which is a 14 by 12 inch fiberglass enclosure that includes two 9 amp hour batteries built in with a 110 volt outlet for your accessories. And here is a video Robert's going to go over on how the board is programmed.
The KUSTOS A40 24-volt electromechanical swing gate operator is intended to be used with the Zara or Thalia 24-volt control boards. Here we are using our Thalia-UL LED, which features built-in battery backup in a 12 by 14 NEMA-approved fiberglass enclosure. This enclosure also has stainless steel hardware for long-lasting outdoor use. The enclosure is hinged with a piano-type hinge, which is all stainless steel. The hardware and latches are all stainless steel, and the built-in battery backup for ease of power fail convenience. Here we can see the terminals for the control board, and as we discussed earlier, the motor is via a 3-wire connection from the back of the motor to the control board. Here we have the positive and negative for motor 1 with the limit switch to number 42, which is where the information will come in. If this were a 2-motor control board, or if you're running 2 motors, the second motor will be attached to 14, 15, and 43. To make it convenient to attach your wires, the terminals are removable, and you have the screw clamps on the underside of the motor, of the clamps there. Once all your wiring is finalized and your limit switches are set, to program the control board would be simply pressing the OK button 1 time. This will start the preset menu, and the first entry will be the language, and choose E and G for English. Press OK for your selection. Next, it will ask you what type of motor you're running. In this case, we have the KUSTOS, and it displays KUSTOS. So press OK. Now it'll ask you how many motors you're running. And in this case, we have 1 motor connected to the control board. Should you have 2 motors, a left and a right, then simply choose 2. But in our case, we have 1. Press OK. Next step will be the direction. This is important to let the control board know when the gates are in the closed position. If the gates pull into open, it'll be interior. If they push out to open, it'll be exterior. In this case, we're pushing out to open. We're pulling into open. Press OK. Next, it'll have the preset. If you want your gate to close automatically after a 10-second timer, you would choose AR, automatic residential. If you want it to be click to open and click to close, choose SR. In this case, we want the timer to close the gate, so we're choosing AR. It'll program those settings. It'll take a moment. The next is the auto set. This part of the setup, at this point, you have to be sure that your photocells are connected and wired in properly, and you had already adjusted your limit switches. If you did not have any of those priorities set already, then you will get an error during this part of the setup. So since we're good on that, we're going to press OK. It'll give you a 3, 2, 1 countdown, and then the gate will start to run open, slowly at first. At this point, the auto set will start cycling the gate slowly. It is important to not interrupt the swing of the gate during this phase of the setup. It needs to determine the full open and full close limit switch positions. It may do this operation 2 or 3 times, determining the weight of the gate and to calculate the slow down distance for the full swing of the operator. After the successful auto set, you will get OK on the display. Press the OK button back and it'll move on to the next part of the setup, which is programming the remotes. The screen will read memorize remotes and then go to hidden button. Once you're there, you're going to press and hold the 2 buttons on the remote until it says release. Once you get release, press the desired button and it'll say OK with a number on the display. Once you finish programming all your remotes, press the OK button, and it'll end the programming, and now the system works via remote.
All right. Thank you, Robert. And now the quick setup.
Okay, like the video was explaining, this is the breakdown of the menu as it goes along through the preset setup. So the first time you press the OK button, you're going to get the language, and you're going to choose the language of choice, English, Spanish, or Italian, French. Once you make your selection, you press OK, and it'll move on to the motor type list. You're going to go down the list and find the type of motor that you're running. And in most cases, it'll be KUSTOS, but there may be cases where you have a Phobos, so you would find that profile on the list and press OK. And it'll ask you for how many motors you're running, either 1 or 2, and the direction that they run in, either pushing in or pulling out. Again, that's important to know. That way the system knows exactly what position it's in when it's closed. If you wind up with the close on the display, but yet the gates are open, then you need to change the direction. You would either have to go back or change it in the programming. Once you get that situated, you press OK, and it'll take you to the presets. The presets are automatic residential, semi-automatic residential, automatic commercial, semi-automatic commercial, and industrial. For most typical residential settings, you will either have AR or SR as your setting. Once you make your choice, you press OK. Then it'll take you to your auto set, which will cycle the gates. And typically it'll do it 2 or 3 times on its own to determine the weight of the gate and to calculate the slowdown distance. Once the auto set is successful, it'll take you to the next part, which is programming the remotes, as we saw. If you keep getting KO during the programming of the remotes, it'll take you back to hidden button to let you try it again. So release 2 buttons and press them again until you get release on the display. Then press your desired button, and it'll give you the OK with the number. After you program all your remotes, you can click the OK, and it'll end the programming. Here we see the way the operators are intended to be connected from the back of the motor to the control board. And again, if you're using a single motor, number 1 for both motors will always go to your limit switch connection on the gray plugs. In this case, for motor 1, the number 1 terminal goes to number 42, then number 2 goes to 10, and then number 3 goes to 11. This is always going to be the same for both motors. And here we have the second motor, and again, it'll show number 1 going to the 43 terminal for the motor 2 limit switch input, and number 3 going to 14, and number 2 going to 14, and number 3 going to 15 for the second motor. It has to be identical as far as the polarity of the motors, because the control board will determine the direction on your setting. If you choose interior or exterior, it'll know which way to run the motors. Importantly, the photo beam on the Thalia-UL is mandatory. And for the through beam and for the reflector type, you have to use 5-wire connection to the control board. The control board will actually energize the photo beam, or in this case, if you have a reflector, or if you have the through beam, it'll energize the transmitter the moment the operator is asked to run when you click the remote. And as far as the relay contact, you have to use the common, normally closed, and the normally open, so that the control board can know that the relay or the photo beam is there and present, because it checks the status of the relay before letting the motors run. The possible causes for an ER01, which I think we're very familiar with, would be either the photo beams are misaligned, that the wiring connections are wrong or you're missing a wire, or that they are not being energized because there's a fuse being blown on the control board, or you're using the wrong type of safety device. And by that we mean that you have a 10K type resistor or using a 10K type photo beam with a built-in resistor. Those are not needed for the Thalia-UL. The other reason for getting an ER01 is you simply have no safety device connected. Other inputs for the control board can be normally open inputs for your free entrance or free exit. And those are different devices that you can use. You can use a keypad, a separate type of receiver, or a driveway sensor type of device, like a free exit loop. And those are all going to be connected to your 60 and 61 connection for normally open, and you can get the power from 50 and 51 for 24-volt power to those accessories. And this is by default programmed as an open command. Other outputs or accessories that can be connected are auxiliaries, such as a mag lock. Now, the control board will not run the mag lock, but the control board has the relay to control the mag lock. So you can set the auxiliary to option 8, which turns it into a mag lock type relay, so that it energizes the mag lock when the gates are closed and will release it the moment the motor starts running. You can also control a solenoid type lock with the outputs. Again, they're not powered, but you can control it via the relays on the control board, the auxiliary relays. Other useful settings could be a courtesy light output, so that the system can turn on a light at the gate and keep it on during the duration of the maneuver, and after the gate is closed, it will remain on for an additional 90 seconds. Very useful for a nice residential gate installation.
Okay, thanks, Robert. And one thing I'm going to circle back with is the Wi-Fi gateway that you can add into any of the newer BFT boards that are out there. These are what it allows. It allows the end user to use an app to open and close the gate, and also monitor the status of that specific gate operator. One thing I will point out is what makes this unique is it's got GPS technology embedded into this. So what that means is on the second phone image there that you can see around that blue dot, you can set a radius around the gate operator. So for example, when the car pulls up into the driveway and breaks that GPS radius around it, the gate will automatically open. So that's a nice feature to know about. And you can have up to 5 users for the app. And here's an example of how easy it is. Below you have your Thalia-UL control board, and the Wi-Fi gateway board just plugs right in. And this is available on Android or Apple devices. So that's all we have for today. One thing I'm going to point out is some of you may have installed the KUSTOS with the Zara board. We're going to be making a specific video just for that control board as well to put onto YouTube to help with the programming, photo eye connections, and transmitter programming. Once again, all these webinars and technical tips are found on our BFT America's YouTube channel. And next week, tune in on Wednesday at 1 p.m. We'll be going over the Juno hydraulic swing gate operator, which is 24 volts, no encoder. It uses magnetic limits and for gates up to 17 feet, 1,750 pounds. So a good solution to know about. And at this point in time, my contact information is below, and feel free to ask any questions in the chat box, and Robert and I will do our best to answer all of them. All right, do we have any questions? I don't see any yet. Now I'll give it one more minute.
Johnny is asking if they can use the 10K resistor.
Yes.
No, if you use the 10K resistor, you're going to get an ER